Hello everyone, in this lesson I will tell you a complete application weather app using Flutter BLoc, and the state management here is used for multiple screen and using the latest version of Flutter. So here we have a main screen. The main screen introduced and show you some information about weather for a specific location. We have a weather screen here, and we have a text to display when the state is initial. The weather state initial here allow you to select many state. We choose many state. Okay, so this is an action. So this is the action in app bar, and we also have the setting button. When you press the setting, we can change the temperature unit from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Yes, two kinds of temperature unit. So back to the previous screen, and this screen means setting screen. So we also have the setting event up toggle unit to change the unit between Celsius and Fahrenheit, and this is a setting block and setting state. Okay, so come back to the previous screen, and we can see a button like search, and after pressing the information to the search, city name, for example Chicago, you type the Chicago name here, and then you press that it is the city search screen, and here it is the weather event refresh. And here's the parameter. Here is city, and the city you type. Then we have a weather state initial, weather state loading, weather state success, and fail. Okay, so when you press to here, you can see a loading, and here it is information, the detailed information about the specific city, and you have a temperature, minimum, maximum, and current temperature. So here it is a weather state loading success, and here it is background color and text color, and two property here is put together inside a state of theme state. And here when you pull down and when you scroll the list view to the it shows the loading. When you pull to refresh, and it is a refresh indicator. The refresh indicator reload the information in this page when you scroll down. And when you type the information here, you can type, for example, the city name Washington, and use the hint, the Washington, and press search. And so loading, and here is the weather for Washington DC, and the updated is the current time. Okay, so let's create a new project by Flutter create, and then open this project using Android Studio. To specify Android Studio, open the current project. And firstly, you need to delete some unnecessary code. For example, theme, unnecessary, and home, replaced by a text widget, and change the title to Flutter Weather app with BLoc. Now the Weather API. Where is the Weather API? You can search for many Weather API. Here I use Meta Weather. Meta Weather is a web page which allow you to search for weather by city name. For example, the query is Chicago. We can see the Chicago. If you change to Chi, you can get an array of city which contains the key characters. Okay, and here is the location ID. By location, you also have a specific API. So you copy this and paste to here. Yes, and then you can see the Flutter API, and you can copy the specific array. You can copy an object detail. Yes, you paste this object to see own property name. Then you copy this. Yes, you cut this and paste to new package. You choose a new package repository, and you define inside this a Flutter file named Weather repository. Weather repository is a place where you add many functions relating to the weather. So here you must define this function depending on the output value. You right click and create a new package and choose a package name model and choose a model file. For example, weather. We have a weather model. Yes, and you paste the content to here and define a class name. Weather stands from equatable. Equatable is a class which help you to distinguish between different objects. So here is some package we must to install: HTTP, Flutter BLoc, equatable, and weather icon. Yes, it is the minimum package we need to use in this project. So you must import the equatable class here, and you define some of the property like mean, temp, maximum temperature, location ID, etc., and weather condition and formatted condition. Okay, we have a various property of weather application, weather object. We must define an enumeration of weather condition to contain to standard some of the value like snow, like raining, etc. And the prop here to be distinguished, to be distinguished between every objects of equatable. So you cut this information and then scroll down. Convert from JSON to weather object. You must define a function to convert a specific JSON data to an object of weather. So you define a weather, the factory method. This factory method return an object of weather. Yes. So you get the consolidated weather from consolidated weather value of this JSON. This will return an array, so you get the first element, then you can get the first element consolidate weather, and you return a new object of weather and add some of the property value inside this. For example, weather condition, wind direction compass, and temperature parameters, wind speed and wind direction, air pressure, humidity, etc. You must provide the default value for every property in this object. Yes, must property using the default value. Yes, and here some of the synonyms, the abbreviation of S means shower and SC means heavy cloud. So you can use the ABB means the abbreviation or the synonym. Yes, you define a static method of converting from string to weather condition. So you can use switch case or if else but in this case you can also use a map object. Map object define key and value pair, so you can get a specific value from the key value. The key value here, for example, sleet. The key value here is thunderstorm. HI mean heavy rain. Light rain is R. LR. S means shower, etc. And light cloud is LC. Okay, or C is clear or runny or sunny. Okay, so I get the specific value of weather condition depending on the string of input input weather condition with abbreviation. So here I can replace this with map string to weather condition. Okay, and I do similarly with other property of weather. So for example, mean temp or minimum temperature get from the consolidated weather object key mean temp, and the default value is a string, a blank string, and the temp here is the temperature. You must cast to double. You must cast or convert to double. The mark temp is the same. Okay, so here is some of the specific value. This is the location ID. Yes, the location ID, and we call this where on earth. Where on earth identifier mean location ID. So the created is a created date. Yes, here, and the title here is the city name or the location name. So here JSON object get value from title. Okay, so right click to weather repository, define a class name weather repository, and I use the HTTP library to send requests from your device to a server to get the API data. And see here, you copy this, make it as a string of base URL. It must be below the import, so the base URL is the common string for use with many other API. So the location URL is a function, is an one-line function with the city is the parameter is a city and the base URL. Okay, so after inputting city to this function in line 13, you get a string which contains the city as a variable. So we do the same with location ID. So add the location ID to the string of weather URL and make the weather URL to become a function. You can get the detailed URL from location ID and base URL. We define a future function or an asynchronous future function to get the ID from the city string. Okay, so this is in this case I can get by calling the get function of the HTTP client's object. We transmit the location URL to here, and you must check for the status code. The status code is 200, mean it is successful. Then you can throw the exception and give the detail error of this exception. You call the function JSON decoder to convert the response body to a list. Yes, here is an array and I convert it to an array or a list. Yes, it is a list. Okay, I know this because I see the array side. So the value is fetched to a city's object. The city here is a list. Then you must convert this list to an array of objects, or you get the first object. Yes, you get the first object, the first ID. Yes, where on earth identifier means the location ID, and then you write a function to get the detailed weather for a specific location ID. So for example, in this I can get the response object by calling await. Await means this function is called asynchronously with other tasks, and it gets the weather URL from the location ID and send the request to get the weather detail from the location ID. In this line, if it is successful, the weather JSON is calling by pressing by converting response.json to JSON by using JSON decoder and use a function of from JSON. You can get weather from CD by using these two functions. First, I need the location ID, and then I call the fetch weather. We also have a directory named event. Event is a place where contains some of the event of this application. So we have a weather event. Firstly, this weather event extends from equatable. So this event here relating to request, refresh, etc. And requested means you get the value from the API when you have a specific event, request or reload or refresh. Okay, there is something wrong with my code, because you must define the prompt. You must implement the props method to point out about what is the difference between the weather event. So CD, okay. So the weather event refresh something the same as with the weather event requested. So right click to event and create a new Dart file, and here we have a setting event. The setting event here, firstly we define an abstract class of setting event. It stands from equatable class, and we have a class of setting event talking unit. Here the talking unit means you change between the unit of Celsius and Fahrenheit and vice versa. So you create a new Dart file, and this Dart file means theme event. The theme event here is to customize the background color and the text color depending on the weather condition. So we define a theme event where the change stands from theme event. Okay. So click to weather condition. Here the weather condition is an enumeration. So the parameter for this event is weather condition. By adding to a constructor of theme event weather change. Okay, and you must make sure that the weather condition not null, and you implement the props method to show the weather condition is the distinguished between any objects equatable. So new Dart file weather state. Yes, and the weather state here I also use abstract class of weather state, and we have initial, loading, success, and fall. We have a for state of weather state to get the value from the API. So we do the same as some of the property as some of the object of state. We have weather state loading, we have weather state success, and the property here is a weather object. Yes, if it is successful, we have the weather object, and the weather object is fed to the constructor. So we define a constructor of weather state success. Yes, with the weather object, and make sure that the weather is not null to be defined in this state. And I implement the props. The prop here is weather. Okay. And we define a class of weather class failure extend from the weather state. So here we have a constructor. We have a very various object of state, weather state, and we also have a more simple setting state. Setting state is quite simple because here we only concern with the setting state to change between the temperature unit to the Celsius. So the temperature unit has two values, Fahrenheit and Celsius, and the temperature unit is also a property of setting state. So you must have the setting state constructor with the input of a temperature unit. You must check the temperature. Temperature units must not null, and you right click to state and create a Dart file named theme state. Okay. We also have a theme state to manage this theme. The theme here has two variables of background color and text color. Yes. Background color and text color is properties of theme state. Theme state allow you to change the color by relating to the condition, the weather condition. Okay, so you must ensure that the background color and text color not null, and background color and text color is to be distinguished between theme state objects. Okay, so right click and define a package, a BLoc. BLoc is the most important in this pattern because it contains the function to convert from the specific event to the new state. So the weather BLoc extends from the generic class of BLoc. Weather event and weather state, the property value type. And the weather repository is a property of weather BLoc, but you must initialize the weather repository is the main function and transmit or reference this object. Here it is the initial state. It is a new way to define the initial state of Flutter BLoc, the updated way to add the initial state. Okay. And the most important function in this weather BLoc is a maps event to state, and the event here is a weather event. So you must use this convention. This convention is very useful when your project contain many blocks. Okay, so you check for events, weather event. The weather event may be refreshed or requested. Yes, it may contain two values. So you must check by if weather event is requested, then you yield the weather state loading. and you must surround this line of code by adding the try catch. So in the case of error, you must yield the state of weather state failure, and you must try catch. In this try catch block, you must add weather and await weather repository. Yes, get weather from city, the previous function about getting weather object from the specific city, and you then after this line finish, you yield to the weather state success. But in this case, the function is full. It can run inside the catch block. So here I can see the weather and the weather here, weather state success. Yes. And you must check else if, and here you must paste to here. So this something like the same, because the first requested you have the loading, but the second part you do not need to show the loading. Yes, it's quite the same. You create a new Dart file, a setting block. Yeah, the setting block here also extend from the generic class of block for setting event and setting state. You call the constructor. The constructor inherit from the simple class and define the initial state. You define the initial state here by calling the init function of setting state. Yes, initialize with the temperature Celsius, and you override the map event to state. Yes, map event to state, and you use setting event name like here. It is an asynchronous function, and the synchronous function can yield multiple value, so it is an operator function, so with star operator function. You check for the setting event is target unit. If it is target unit, you yield the setting state. Okay, and then the setting state object here has a temperature unit value, and this is torque. By comparing the current value to if the current value of temperature unit is Celsius, it will convert to Fahrenheit, and otherwise it is Celsius. Okay, so it is a toggle algorithm. You define another Dart file named timer block, and the timer block here is also a block extend from the block of timer event and timer state. The constructor here is timer block, inherit from timer state, and the timer state here is a constructor, or is an initial state with background color and text color, light blue and white for text. Okay, so here it is the initial state. So for each line, we can show you the code more clearly to understand. And you also map event to state, and here is an asynchronous operator function, and here is a timer event. If the timer event is timer event change, or otherwise the timer event is only change. Okay, timer event weather change. When you change the weather condition, then the timer will also be changed. Okay, so the timer here in this case, timer state I set its name new theme state here. Okay, and here I can define the new theme state by checking the weather condition. The weather condition here maybe clear or light cloud. Then the weather condition will change many value. So new theme state here is theme state with background color yellow, but the text is black. Okay, it is depend on you to define the theme state depending on your weather condition. Yes, depending on your weather condition, you define the new theme incorporated between from background color and text color. And the theme state here, okay, light blue is with white and yellow with black, etc. And the heavy rain, heavy cloud may have the color gray, but the color here is maybe indigo. Okay, it's indigo, and the text color is maybe white. White is enough for you in this case. So else if the weather condition is thunderstorm, maybe the color may be deep purple and the text color is white. Okay, if the background color is in dark, so the text color is in light, or vice versa. So else if the weather condition is unknown, or the remain case, you have the background color light blue and white for text. Okay, yes, I think this is quite enough. You use a new theme state after you change, and right click to create a new file of weather block. Yes, weather block observer is where you save a history of transmitting between the state inside the block. So here is history log. So you define the weather block observer, and then you can see the detail of your flow, detail of your block detail, and then you implement the on transmission on event. Then you can use it globally by adding the observer object in the main function. Yeah. So in Leap you can also have a screen package. The screen package contain many screen or page of your project. You define a weather screen stand from stateful. Why is it stateful? Because because weather state. Okay, and we have two class, one class for state and one class of stateful widgets to define a stateful widgets. Okay. So the user interface is a scaffold with app bar, and app bar here is weather app using Flutter. The action is a list of actions. So the first is an icon button, the icon button setting, the on and the on press function. Here is the event and the event is to navigate to the settings screen. Only navigate to the settings screen. And the second icon button here is search. So it also navigate to the search screen, or the city search screen. So it is an asynchronous because I want to get the value from this screen, the return value from this screen, which is the type of city. Okay. So below the app bar we also have the center widgets. The center widgets is BLoc consumer. What is BLoc consumer? BLoc consumer is widgets where we get the value change of the block. Yes, you can use the block of the block providers, etc. And I initialize the weather repository here. Yes, inside the my app widgets, but you must insert the object of weather repository inside the my app here. So I initialize globally this line. I initialize the observer object to the weather block observer. Okay, yes, good. Okay, so you must use this line of code to observe any change in your block, any change when an event affected to the block, and we can see the output or the update state, yes, in this log or history. Okay, so you import the HTTP module as an alias of HTTP. You as a block provider to create the block. Yes, you create the block here. We have the weather block. Yes, you create a weather block with a specific property of weather repository. Okay, yes, and I initialize my app here with the weather repository object, and you must have multiple blocks. You must have more blocks. You must have many blocks. So the child of this is the weather screen. The weather screen. Okay, so you must. Okay, so what about other block? What about multiple block? You can also use block provider create. And inside another block provider create, but you can use the block provider, multi-block provider with an array of provider. Yes, you initialize the provider of team block, you initialize the provider of maybe setting block. Yes, so we have many multiple block, but a specific widget will be affected by multiple blocks. Okay. So the child here is my app. Okay, and you copy this and paste to here. Yes, it is enough for you to create multiple blocks and assign and provide the multiple block for a specific widget. Yes. So the block provider here .context here is the value of a specific block, and calling add to add a specific event to a block. Yeah, so here it is theme event weather block weather change. Okay, yes, weather change, and the property here. Okay, so you add the weather state to dot weather and weather condition. Yes, you get the value of weather condition from weather state and raise an event of theme state weather change. You raise an event of weather change. Then here you have a builder property. The builder here is a function with context and weather state, and this function must return to a specific widget. So here you must check because it will return multiple widgets in this line. So if the weather state is loading, then it's so the circular progress indicator. Otherwise, if the weather state is weather state success is so it gets the weather object from the weather state. Yes, I get a specific weather object from the weather state, and create a block provider. So in this widgets, I can get the specific theme block and specific theme state inside this builder. Okay. Builder, not create. Builder mean to use. Create mean to initialize a block. Yes. And in this case, refresh indicator. Refresh indicator is where you refresh by pulling your finger from up to down. When you move your finger from up to down, then the refresh indicator is called, and then the function will refresh your data inside. So the onPress, when the onPress function is called, you must raise an event of where the event refresh. Yes, you must raise a where the event refresh. With the location, location here is city, etc. So the child of this, refresh indicator is a list view. You can surround, you can bound the list view inside container. Yes, inside container. With color is a get from theme state. Yes, the color or the background color is a get from the theme state. Okay. Yes, then the child of on the container is list view, and the children is the specific elements inside the list view. You must you can surround it by the column. Yes, so the column is this K here. The first here is a text with Chicago. Chicago here is a location property of weather object. And we also have a center here to specify the last update property. So here is the last update property of weather object, and you copy and paste here to show more here. So if you want to show more detail about the temperature, you can make a separate temperature name temperature. I mean temperature, which is, and you check for the weather state is maybe in this case is weather state failure. If it is full, so it display a red text that something went wrong. For example, something went wrong, and with the font size about 16 is enough. Yes. And below this, you otherwise it returns the center of text, and with a guide of select of a location first. Yes, it is a guide for the user to specific to select a location firstly. Okay. Then okay, so I can use provider. The refresh indicator must return a future void. So it must return a future void to be determined that it is finished or not. So I have an object of completer void. Initialize a completer object here. Yes, a completer void here to add it inside it to call the future. Yes, future function here means that the completer is finished. So finish refreshing. After you send the event, then it is not refreshed anymore. So you must call the completer dot completer here, and then you must call optional. This is optional means that when the completer is none, this line is not crashed, or this line is not does not throw any exception. So below this line, I can put together inside a widget. So you define a widget, a Dart file. You create a Dart file and give it a name, my temperature widget, and class temperature widget extend from state widgets with property of weather, and with the constructor, the constructor must contain weather object, and key is default. Yes, key is default. Every widget has a separate key now, so you don't concern about this. You do not concern about this. Let automatically get from the super class. So the build function return to the column. So here the column here is we contain a row. The first is a row. Yes, the first is a row. The row with the first is the icon, but I use the icon more. So you must have a padding with edge inset for symmetric from maybe horizontal or vertical. Yes, vertical or horizontal with symmetric. Okay. So the child here is a class of block builder. With the builder function here is may return a column, so we must define here. So the column here in this case is cross-axis alignment, cross-axis alignment dot n, or align to n, and the stringent axis is the three text: mean temperature, current temperature, and max temperature. Okay, so we have three text widgets here. Three widgets is are the children of this temperature widgets. Okay, so you must convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit by defining an internal function of to Fahrenheit. Yes, here I use a one-line function to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You can convert from the temperature and the temperature unit to a formatted temperature. Yes, here a formatted temperature. Okay, so here it displays the degree, Celsius degree, or Fahrenheit degree. Have two kinds of degree to display, and we call the function a formatted function. The temperature is get from weather object. Yes. Okay, and the temperature unit is get from the setting state. Okay. Yes, quite clear to understand. So change the grammar a little bit. So here is the second text. The second text which is so the second the setting state of temperature. I also display by using the style. You increase the text more, and the color is getting from the color is rather from the block provider of BLoc. Yes, okay. By okay, so BLoc. Yes, so get the specific state. The state here is the theme state, and then dot text color. State here is theme state. Okay, state here is theme state, and the theme state, I get the theme state from here for easier to understand, and replace here with theme state. So here some property for checking, and you can replace with the current temperature. you copy this line of code and replace to the maximum temperature. Okay, then okay, now so mark temperature, so very easy to find, replace, and you define a more Dart file for setting screen. Okay, so class setting screen extend from stateless widgets with the build method, and the build method give you a scaffold with up, bar, and body. Body now is a list view, and the list view function we add the switch, we add the text inside. So you must call the block builder setting block and setting state. Okay, the block builder will get the setting state, and I can get the data, the value inside the setting state. Now I return a list type with the title here is also a text, temperature unit. Okay, and each tree line is true. It means that it can store multiple lines, and the top subtitle here is a text. The text depends on the temperature unit. For example, if the temperature unit is Celsius, then it displays Celsius, otherwise Fahrenheit. Okay, so the trailing here is also a switch. Switch has a value of Boolean true or false. It checks the temperature unit is Celsius. If it is Celsius, then it is true, otherwise so the switch is false. Okay, so the value of the switch depending on the value compared to the Celsius temperature unit. Okay, so on change function here, it is a function called when you press to this switch. Then I send an event. I add an event of setting event toggle unit. Okay, so we continue with here this function to navigate to setting screen. So to navigate, you use navigator.push context, and the router here is material page router. Material page router builder here is a function of context, and it return to the screen. So now it is setting screen, not setting but setting screen. Yes, we have just do the setting screen, and we navigate to the city search screen when you press to the icon button of search. Okay, it will navigate to the city search screen. So that file, and I name it to be city search screen. I do the same as with the setting screen, city search screen, and it is also a widget here. Class city search screen extend from stateful widgets. Why stateful? Because we must save the city you type into a state. So we initialize the city search screen state, and I implement the state class with the build function. The build function will return a scaffold widgets. The scaffold must have up bar and body. The up bar here is a text, enter a city with title. Title here is a text with enter a city content. Okay, so the body of this state is a list, maybe a form. Okay, we use a form because the content you type here will be submitted, so I use a form. The first here is a row, and this row can expand. I expand the padding. I expand the text field, the text form field, and I set the padding by use the setting widgets. The text form field here has some property of controller. So the controller, you must initialize the controller as a property of this class, and you define inside the init state. I initialize it inside this, and I define a city text controller property. Okay, and I set this to here, city text controller. So I set a declaration for the text form field by calling input declaration, label text, and hint text. Hint text is a prompt text. Yes. Okay, so this is a form. Then in weather screen, you navigator.push context and material page router builder. Here is context. Yes, you do the same as with setting screen to navigate to the city search screen. So the return value here is a type city. Yes, the value you type inside a form will be returned to the push function of the navigator. Yes, the controller, city controller, allow you to return whatever you type in the text input in the text field, and it returns to the type of city. And you check for the type of city. The type of city not null, so you add an event using BLoc provider of weather BLoc context and .add. So you call the event of weather event requested. Okay, this will send the city as a parameter, and then the BLoc will receive this event and get the information from the internet through the API. So you must add the await here because it is in an async await function. So you set the debug to here. Inside the weather screen, you also set some breakpoint. Yes, one breakpoint to here and one breakpoint here. So choose your simulator and press debug. Yes, the first time it called this and then this. This is for testing only because I get the value of table block and ensure that and make sure that this value must be not null. Yes, and next. Okay, continue. Yes, and press to the search or press to here. Yes, it will navigate to the setting. It will get the setting block and list tile. Next. Okay. Yes, so you stop. Okay, change the state. Then the function of map event to state is called, and this is the new state. And next, it is a new state, setting state. This is a new state, the updated state. Okay, this is called when the event of setting event target unit is called. Okay, so the value is changed. Okay, so the value changed to up. Yes, so now you press to search, then the program will navigate to here. You type Chicago, for example, and press search. Set a breakpoint to here and press search. Okay, continue, and now the type of city is Chicago. Okay, good. Then continue. Okay, and in the BLoc, yes, transition, yes, and here I can see the get location ID from city function. You debug to get a response. Stated code is success, and the city is a list. So here I can get the first city, and I get the location ID from the first city. Yes. Another way, here you can initialize using your map. It's not. Yes. And you have a response. Next, check for status code. Yes. Next, and so here something wrong, because here must be weatherization, and you stop and re-debug again. Okay. Okay, so this is the first time, but now I can change this using one line function by calling timer BLoc initializer, and here setting BLoc initializer. Okay, yes, debug again. First time in my app, continue, and then press to search or setting, and now press to setting. Yes, release time temperature, you change, then you have a new setting state. Here the setting state will be Fahrenheit. Okay, continue, and now I for navigate back and press search. So continue. Yes, okay, and type, for example, Chica maybe, and search. Then it navigate to here, and then the type of city is Chica. Continue. Okay, so another event is called, then in response, not necessary. Nice. Okay, so I get the location ID. Continue, and I get a list of city and get the location ID. Okay, and this response. Nice. Continue, and I have the weatherization. Yes, and the weather condition will convert from here to some of the background and text color. Yes, so we have a new theme. So here it is the updated theme as a state, and continue. Okay, yes, good. And what about the detail temperature below here? You must add a temperature here by clicking to temperature widgets and paste the temperature which is initializer here with the weather object. Input the weather object. Yes, and run again. Okay, so press to search or setting. Yes, enter CA, for example, loading. Yes, okay, so now I can see the mean temperature, and max temperature here. So it is a temperature widgets. Okay, so we do similarly with some more test case. Okay, we have a new color, we have a new background color and text color, and now you type LA. Okay, Philadelphia. So the temperature. Yes. Okay. And now I want to add an icon here. The icon must be added to show the weather condition, cloud, raining, heavy cloud, etc. So in PubSpec setting, I can import the weather icons library to here. Yes, the weather icon contain many weather icon. So you must define a function of box icon return value. The content of function is to map from weather condition to a specific box icon. Yes, so weather condition, map weather condition to icon. The input parameter here is the weather condition. Yes, weather condition. And you must check by switch case or if else to get a specific condition. So weather condition is you can get a specific by weather icons dot icon name. For example, here is sunset, and here is box icon. So here, so first we have clear, light cloud, and the box icon shows day sunny. Okay. So you can add more as you want. You can add many as you want. Many kinds of weather condition, and with a specific box icon. Heavy cloud, hail, snow, sleet, and I use weather icon dot snow, weather icon dot cloud up. So we do similarly to heavy rain, shower, thunderstorm, okay, sunset, etc. Yes, it depends on you. Do as you like. So call the map weather condition to icon here with the weather condition get from the weather object. So weather dot weather condition. So comma here, run. Yes, running is code view done. Okay, so now test by using some functional abilities in this application. Yes, enter a city, you type for example HA, and then loading. So Birmingham. Yes, here. So I can see the icon like here. So add another location, Chicago, and press search. Okay, so now I have the icon like here. There. Yes, you can test anything what you want, anywhere. So HO and search, and Havana, etc. Yes, so something went wrong because no location like this. Yes, okay, yeah. You can see the specific icon, and you can also set the color for a specific icon. Let make it as an exercise for you. And type Chicago and press, okay, and then it push to the type, and I get the type city, and I get the response from the API, the weather API, and I get the value. Okay, response code, and then change and change. Okay, so nice. Oh, so good. After you pull to refresh, the function of refresh indicator is called. Okay, yes, and okay, loading. After loading finish, you respond to here. Okay, when you pull to refresh, the refresh indicator is called, and then the API is called, and after getting data it will refresh the color or refresh the theme. So here you must replace the multi-block provider by block provider inside another block provider. Multiple provider will be added inside here as nested, and you copy and paste the content of my app initialized inside the child of the second block provider. Okay, it's quite clear to understand. So you cut and paste to here, replace here and paste. Yes. Okay, so how to distinguish between setting object by temperature unit. Okay, and run the program again for testing. So the temperature unit is a property to distinguish the setting state objects. Run the program and press setting and change to Fahrenheit, Celsius. The temperature unit you can change here, and back to here and click to search and enter the city, for example Chicago. Press search. Okay, yes, here you can see the detailed information of temperature and the color for temperature condition. So this is the end of my lesson today about how to build a complete weather app using BLoc to manage state. Thank you very much for watching, and see you